We're here on the floor of PDAC 2025 with George Glasier from Western Uranium and Vanadium. We love uranium. What's going to happen with uranium in 2025, George?
Well, Tracy, that's an excellent question. You know, we've seen a drop off in the last 6 months, but we think that's going to change. You know, uranium is still in short supply around the world. There's no doubt about it. You know, the world is consuming more than it's producing. At some point, there's going to be, you know, a drastic need for more production. And so what's going to drive the price up is simply the lack of production, but the demand. And that's coming, it's going to come in 25. I don't know if it's going to come in a month or 2 or 6, but I think the utilities are going to finally realize that the world is not producing enough uranium. And that'll benefit all the uranium producers in the world, especially the ones that can be in production in the next couple of years.
And of course, for those of you who do not know who Western Uranium and Vanadium is, you're one of the few producers in the United States. Is that not correct?
That's right. We've got producing mines. We're producing out of 4 mines right now, stockpiling the material, expecting to ship that to the Energy Fuels Processing Mill at Blanding, Utah in the next few months. So we are a producer, definitely, one of the few in the U.S.
And for those of you out there who may not know who Western Uranium and Vanadium is, George, can you tell us 3 reasons why you should do your due diligence and get Western Uranium and Vanadium on your grid?
Well, obviously, we're one of the few companies in the U.S. that is now currently producing from operating mines. We have 4 operating mines. We're stockpiling ore, and there's very few capabilities in the U.S. like ours. We're a conventional producer.
So what are your goals here at PDAC this year?
Well, obviously, to get the message out that uranium, even though the commodity is down right now, it's coming back. There's no doubt about it. You know, there's going to be shortages of uranium in the next few years, so it's a commodity that investors should be looking at. You know, not just right now, but into the future. And this is the time to invest, not just in Western, but any of these uranium companies are probably undervalued based on, you know, market conditions today. So that's one of the messages we want to get out. This is the time for investors to look back at uranium. Do it before the market turns, because, you know, that's when the equities, you know, start to move and move fairly quickly, we believe.
Of course, for those of you out there that do follow uranium, you've been a leader in drawing investors' attention to investing in American uranium. Can you talk to us about the benefits of investing in American uranium?
Well, obviously, the U.S. is the biggest consumer of uranium for their reactors in the world. We're getting almost none of our uranium from U.S. producers now. That's going to change. You know, that changes under, you know, the congressional, you know, mandate to ban Russian uranium. There's some waivers that are available to the utilities for a few years. But without the Russian uranium coming in, uranium is going to have to come from somewhere. It's going to come from Canada, it's going to come from Australia, it's going to come from some from Africa, but it's got to also come from the U.S. And so we think the movement in the U.S. is by the U.S. utilities to secure a significant quantity of their uranium from U.S. producers for deliveries in the next, let's say, next 5 years, starting probably in 2 years. We're not ready to deliver all that uranium, but we will be ready in 2 years, the U.S. industry.
Now, speaking of the U.S., Trump, of course, is on all of our headlines right now. Do you deem Trump to be a positive for the American uranium market?
Oh, absolutely. You know, Trump will protect the U.S. market. I read just today that they're studying imports of lumber. Lumber is important to the U.S., but uranium is more important than lumber. We can't build houses without lumber, but we can't do anything without the nuclear power that we have in the U.S. Trump will be a positive for the nuclear industry and the uranium industry in the U.S., definitely.
I would love it if you could just add a few more lines about, for those of you out there that may not understand the significance of the utility companies in the U.S. selecting American uranium.
Well, obviously, the geopolitical risk around the world, not in Canada, not in Australia, but certainly in parts of the world, the geopolitical risk to getting the deliveries for a long term is significant. So the U.S. utilities are going to have to look at the more secure supplies, being first, obviously, in the U.S. with no tariffs. Obviously, there may or may not be tariffs on foreign uranium coming into the U.S. We don't know that. But for non-tariffed uranium, they need U.S. uranium, secure and tariff-free, obviously.
Western Uranium. For more information, please visit their website listed below. George, as always, it's a pleasure to see you.
Pleasure to be with you, Tracy. Thank you.